Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Awesome. I know it's getting close to the end, so I'm not going to ask for too much, but can everyone just stand up and then sit back, but like just have that motion? I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Off to a great start. Thank you and welcome. My name is Adewalei Abati, and I'm a staff developer advocate at Block, a financial tech company that is also embracing all things AI recently. If you know Square, Cash App, Bitkey, and the likes, then you've probably heard about Block. But today, before we get into it, I'm very curious about how many of us here in the audience are software engineers? Oh, a large, okay, that's nice, awesome. How many people have heard of or used AI agents? Wow, okay, nice. How many people, this is the final question, how many people have used or heard of Model Context Protocol? Oh, nice, okay, cool. I see a large number of people haven't, so I hope at the end of this session, we're going to get through all of this and feel very familiar and just comfortable with knowing what to do next with some of these tools. Over the last couple of months, if I may say, pretty much since the beginning of the year, as a staff developer advocate at Block, I've been tasked with doing both internal and DevRel, especially around applied AI stuff. And what this means is mostly working directly with people, both engineers and non-developers, to actually figure out how AI can be used in a practical, real-life workflow, right? Versus the demos that we get, the to-do apps, but like how do people, real human beings, actually get to use this every single day, either in their personal lives or in their professional lives. So I've had a couple of talks at conferences, but mostly also sessions internally within Block, just exploring what these tools could actually bring to us as mostly non-developers, if I'm being honest, but also as engineers as well. Most of the tools that we have out there, especially when it comes to AI stuff, are very targeted towards developers, or do vibe coding stuff, which is quite all right. This is how you can use Cursor, code, Cloud Code, and then just build up your project, all of those things. But when it comes to even us as developers and our general life, there is more that goes into what we do than just the code that we write. So today I'm going to show us a couple of examples from the team as well, things I'm allowed to show anyways. Among how some of the teams at Block have actually started to explore AI tools, and in this case, AI agents. So first example I'm sharing today is context-based recurring research. I was able to collaborate with a team that wanted to be able to quickly speed up the process in which they do some AML, which is, I think, anti-money laundering processes, just doing some research, checking sanction list, and figuring out what are the latest updates about a particular company or the other, right? Normally, this would take a couple of hours every other week per company, and what they wanted to do eventually was, is there a way for us as a team to be able to provide the name of a company and just get every information that we would normally look for by ourselves? So what they have done here, I don't know if you guys can see clearly. I hope you can. Can you? Can you see clearly? Oh, okay. So what they've done is they have like a set of just, example criteria that the places that they check, the websites that they check every single time, the sanctions lists that they have, some of the things they look out for, and they have this list of criteria thing that they share with that they normally carry out every other week, every other day working with a company to know what are the sanctions or what are the anti-money policies around that company. So by being able to automate this process and create like a mini bot or an agent, every single time they needed to do something like this, whether for a new company or for a very old company, all they have to do is provide the name of this company, and it provides all of the data that they would need based on the criteria that they provided in the past. This is saving hours of work per individual before it now maximizes to a team, and then you can imagine how much is saved every other week. And it doesn't replace, if I may add, it doesn't replace this person. It just uses their expertise to focus on something else where the mundane tasks, the manual repetitive tasks are entirely automated by an AI agent. Which is the response that we have here, the company overview, just a kind of like list of some of the rules and risks that the company is exposed to, even from the news on the internet. This is done by an AI agent in a couple of minutes, where you can just go grab coffee in the same time. Another example is document discovery and consolidation. Most of us here spend hours in meetings, and you get a ton of meeting notes. Sometimes you want to generate reports. Sometimes you want to generate, like, what are the key points from this last meeting? Just conversations or things that we would normally spend hours doing by ourselves. An example is someone on my team, there was a new person joining my team, and I needed to consolidate a couple of documents across multiple folders to be able to generate an onboarding guide for said person. I'm able to ask this AI agent called Goose, which is what we use internally, to connect to my Google Drive folder, basically my entire Google Drive, to look for a specific folder and then get the relevant documents that apply to this role, and then create a processed list of checklists, list of key resources, documents that are vital to this role, and then generate an onboarding document for me, which is what eventually came out, as you can see on the right side. It's lovely, it's beautiful. Spend like 5 minutes to do this. I cannot for the life of me imagine how long I would have to spend normally going through each document, knowing, okay, this is important, this is not important, arranging, just even thinking about structuring it, right? It doesn't add any particular value to my day, but the fact that I'm able to describe what I want to an AI tool or to an agent, and then it goes to do it and then brings back the result that I can modify anywhere I want, has gotten me like 80% of the way to then clean it up and finish these tasks that I've been assigned to. And another thing which is very common, especially among non-developers, mostly product management teams, is when they are stuck in the middle of speaking with like teams, sharing their ideas, and they have to wait multiple sprints before a designer or a developer is assigned to their team. Now we have product managers on the team being able to say, I think we can probably create this kind of feature for this seller or for this customer. And instead of waiting so long to see the idea come to life, they're able to speak to Goose. Hey, this is what I have in mind. Can you create a prototype for this? And then they have something to show, either their manager, the engineering manager, and if in a couple of weeks or something that's way quicker than a normal process, you have approval, or you have, no, we don't want to do this, let's go a different route, right? It speeds up the entire sprint, speeds up the entire process for a team that is not even tech savvy, or for the most cases sometimes, not able to build this on their own, right? This is only possible because of the effect of AI tools present today, and also the use of LLMs in the background for processing some of these tasks. But at the end of the day, this is the dashboard that comes out from that simple one-sentence prompt. At the end of the day, these things are tools, and one thing I usually tell many of these teams that I collaborate with is that there is no way, absolutely no way, that I can do your job better than you can. All I can do is introduce this tool to you, tell you what's possible, and then as I'm describing some of these use cases or some of these features, you start to imagine your day-to-day, you start to imagine your workflow and see where this fits in. So that's a similar thing I'm going to do today. If I have enough time, we can also have this as an interactive session, ask questions about what you do and stuff like that, and we can see what's possible. So I'm sending it back out to you guys as I'm sharing some of these examples and some of these tools or technology. Don't think about what I'm just telling you, but also think about how this would fit into your own workflow and how it will improve the quality of the work that you do or speed up your processes in general. Does that make sense? Awesome. So AI adoption itself is a mindset, because some of these tools are moving very fast. I had a story one time about how the evolution of ships came about, when ships started from the wooden ships, and then we started going to war, navigating the waters, and then you started seeing their areas of improvement. And then you created a couple of solutions for new ships, but they never really got it right, if I may say, to eventually encounter the steel ships and the warships that we have today. So I think we are also in that phase with AI where we'll continue to evolve different tools, different solutions till we get to a master generative AI solution that, okay, this is probably where we want to get to with AI and stuff like that. So there's, in a few months, maybe 2-3 months, what we have then might be entirely different from what we have today. But it's up to us as people, as professionals in this space, to also be able to keep up with some of the things that are happening or find ways that just improves our own quality of life and work at the same time. So you do not need to be an AI expert. All you just need to be aware of is what is possible and what can I do with these tools. So what is an AI agent? I'm glad a lot of us raised up our hands talking about being familiar with AI agents. But in summary, especially for those that are not yet familiar, AI agents are essentially autonomous tools, like superpowered assistants that are backed or powered mostly by LLMs to be able to carry out single tasks or even sometimes very complex tasks following your instructions as a person. One way I like to describe this is if you're watching any of the Marvel movies, I'm a big Marvel head, I apologize, you would find out that regardless of how intelligent or smart Jarvis the AI was, it always took instructions from Tony Stark, even though Tony was just a human. So regardless of what invention you needed to create, you need to remember that these AI tools are just that, tools to be able to maximize what you want to achieve and what you want to do with them. So as an AI agent, they can carry out multiple tasks without human intervention. You give it a plan, you give it a set of instructions, and then it goes to do it back and forth till it gets to the solution or gets stuck in a point where it then requires your intervention or just some feedback from you. And this has improved today, especially with the integration possible through the model context protocol. The model context protocol is something that you could describe as a universal USB-C adapter for everything around the world. A suit of armor, basically. You're able to plug in AI tools, AI agents into applications or platforms, or even desktop applications, mobile applications, web applications, APIs that normally have no support for AI built into them. But with MCPs, you can develop this kind of environment to be able to plug these AI agents into these tools and have AI basically control the tool for you. And that is what the MCP, which was built by, what's it called, Anthropic. And also a couple of, what's the word for this? I keep skipping this for the time I want to say. Input. A bit of input from the folks at Block. I think the Anthropic team was working on MCP around November, October last year, which is around the same time that we were also building an AI agent called Goose, the very first version of it. So we had an entirely different approach to integrating this AI agent into the inner workings of Block, because Block, at the end of the day, is a very big company. We have about 12,000 employees. I think that qualifies as enterprise, right? And we needed to build a couple of integrations with these tools into the core of the applications that we were building. And when the MCP came up from Anthropic, it was something that the devs at Block jumped on and like, we definitely need to build something that would make the most of this protocol, because it sounds very powerful, being able to plug in AI tools into platforms that do not even naturally support AI integration in the first place. So from there, you think about the general user, you think about the non-developer in our teams, think about how they can start to adopt or figure out what benefit does using AI bring to me as an individual in this company. And as a user, the first introduction you got to AI tools were ChatGPT, chat applications from like a couple of years ago, and these were powered by LLMs in the background. We got used to having this conversation with the chatbot, asking it, this is what I want to do, then it gives you feedback, and then you go do the action yourself. But then eventually this evolved into introducing AI agents. And with the AI agents, they're also being backed by the LLM, because the LLM does the processing. But what they do, or what they have in power for them, is that the AI agent has a bunch of tools also around it. The tools could be editing files, the tools could be plugging into a database, could be all of those things that the chatbot normally would naturally not have. And that is where the AI agents comes into play, to be able to interact, not just with the LLM, but also with you and go back and forth with you. And now with the introduction of MCP servers, which is the entire protocol that I just described, that allows you to plug into tools like Figma, like Slack, like your databases, like your Google Drive, all of these tools that you already use today. Because of the MCP servers, you're able to plug this directly into the AI tool of your choice, and then the response is generated for the user. So we've gone a long way from just speaking with chatbots to actually having these things do actions for us, plug into our daily lives, our regular work tools, and being able to carry out the final results that we want out of it. Doesn't that sound exciting? Unfortunately, even with the availability of MCP servers, where you can plug into any tool, a lot of the solutions that are available today are closed agents, meaning they build up their own integration themselves, and they are able to customize or tell you these are the features that are available. But as MCPs, as an open source solution itself, provides a platform or an opportunity for you to actually plug into any application. But since most applications are closed, should I say closed source? Built, like, for example, I think one example of this would be, was it Claude? Where you have the ability to install MCP servers, but I think most of them are pre-configured. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's an update recently on that. But with this kind of setup or any other AI agent in that realm, you cannot fully extend it into any use case that you want. And I think that's the downside of the AI agents that are closed source, which brings me to the open source version and the codename Goose. We launched codename Goose in January 28th of this year. You can scan the QR code to go to the website and just see what it's all about. And it's entirely open source. We have teams from Anthropic, from Cloudflare and the likes, actually extending and forking their own version of Goose and building it out. And I think that is what building in open source actually enables us to do in the first place. We get PLs back into that when they have solutions that work, or just extend the solution in general. And Goose is an open source on-machine AI agent. It's a tool that you download. It's available on the Mac, on the Windows, and the Linux, and it runs entirely local. just on your PC. There's no cloud solution for it. It's entirely in your control, as open source is said to be most of the time. And what it does also is allow you to bring in your own choice of LLMs. So if you are a Claude user, if you're an Anthropic user with the Claude Sonnet 4, Claude Opus 4, Claude 3.5, GPTs, Gemini, as the case may be, whatever LLM provider you use, you can also bring it into Goose as a solution on its own, where it's able to then work on the actions that you want, work on the files that you want, everything entirely within your controllable space. And as mentioned, I think there's also support for Ollama. So you can have everything entirely offline. And in our case, for example, at Block, we have custom provider setup that we have set up with Databricks. So everything is, the enterprise solution is what's it called? Proprietary, is protected. The actions, the connections, everything done through the MCP servers are all very secure and encrypted. So let's see MCP in action a little bit. I did mention that through the power of MCPs, we're able to plug in Goose into most of the applications that we use every single day. And one example, or a couple of examples that you can see here is Snowflake, which is a data source, if anyone is familiar or not familiar. It's where I think it's access to most of the database stuff available for most of the enterprise stuff that we do. There's Figma, there's Google Drive, there's VS Code, there's JetBrains. So some of the things that you use as an engineer and also as a non-engineer is available to be plugged into using AI agents through the MCP. So this is from the perspective of a general user that wants to create a solution but has no developer experience. They're able to request to create an interactive map of restaurants close to a location. And thanks to MCPs, you're able to plug into the Google Maps API, figure out the location of I've forgotten the name of the main place, and then find restaurants around that place to be able to then build up a solution, all in seconds, if I may say. This is very interesting. I don't think this was possible a few years ago. Without any particular action, copying the code from ChatGPT, taking it to my own file. This is just on my PC using Goose and giving it an instruction that this is what I want. And thanks to the MCP servers plugging into these different platforms, thanks to the LLM that does the processing and the code writing, we have a solution like this possible in minutes. As I like to describe it, the power of the sun in the palm of my hand. Don't you guys sound excited? Don't you think this is exciting? If you start to think about, this is just one example, where if you start to think about the things that you do on a day-to-day, it could be research, could be documents that you're consolidating, could be stuff that you're creating, and just going 50% faster because you have an AI agent do some of the work that is boring or repetitive or that you can actually describe as an algorithm in quotes. Hey, every time I need to do this, I do this. So let me just tell an AI agent to do this every time so that I start from somewhere else. This gives us superpowers, if I may say. So I like to point it out as the power of the sun in the palm of my hand. And I'm glad you guys got the reference. That's pretty cool. Well, how does MCP work? Because at the end of the day, we need to figure out how this actually makes sense. It's very exciting. I'm asking that. So yeah, how does it actually work? It's not magic. Even though there's a quote I also like to do again from Thor where it says, where I'm from, science and magic are the same thing. So I'm guessing if you take this back 15 years ago, you're like, what is going on? This is magic. But it really isn't. Today is a bit complicated, especially for non-developers, but what the first thing you need to do is install any MCP server of your choice. As we showed on the demo, Google Maps, Google Drive, Figma, as the case may be, you have to install it on your AI agent client of your choice, in this case, Goose. There are installation instructions which I will show us as we go on, but the first step is just installing it on your client. Then the second one is each MCP server has a list or a set of tools that it provides to that client that you can then use. So let's picture, for example, the Google Maps thingy. It's able to get the geocode of any location that you put into it as a tool. It's able to, for example, find locations around that place as on that tool. If you think about Slack, for example, we say, okay, being able to send message to a Slack channel is a tool, right? Being able to read messages from a Slack channel is a tool. So those are the kind of tools that an MCP server will expose to the AI agent. So if you give the AI agent a prompt, oh, I want to send a message to this Slack channel, you send it to the LLM does the processing, and then it identifies what tools are needed before it then goes to the MCP servers to then call those tools. Does that make sense? Cool, yeah. And the next one is the tool execution. So once it does that processing of the prompts, identifying what tools are available from the list that was shared, and then also realizing that, okay, we need to call this tool. It goes back to the AI agent, and then the AI agent calls that tool, and then that's the response that you then see in front of you. And then the final step for all the MCP servers is the business logic, which is what, for example, with the Google Maps thingy, Once you call the tool to get the geocode, the business logic would be what has been written in the background. It could be a Google server API, could be your own product, could be your own platform. If you build your own MCP server, it could be anything else that you wanted as the business logic to execute anytime you call that tool, right? So this could be extensible to anywhere. So this entire process that I just described is what we call the agentic loop, where you give the AI agent an instruction from the beginning, a prompt, and then it goes to the LLM with a list of tools that are available from the MCP servers, and then the LLM processes it and says, for you to be able to do this, you need to call this tool. And then it goes back and calls that tool. And every time it calls that tool and the response that it generates, if it feels like it still needs to work on it to get to your final result, it sends that response back to the LLM. The LLM does that processing and then calls the agent again. And that loop till you get to the final end, the web page that we saw on screen, is the entire agentic loop that until you require human intervention or you get the final result, it keeps going in that loop. So you can't build your own MCP server. So if you have a platform, if you had a custom, should I say an app in your team, could be a personal app, whatever the case is, could be an API of your choice that you wished you could plug AI into, you can build an MCP server around this tool. Could be an API, could be, I think one of the most interesting MCP servers that I actually absolutely did not expect was an MCP server for the app called Blender. Does anyone know Blender here? Awesome. So Blender is essentially a 3D modeling tool that you have on your PC. It's entirely offline, I believe. And I think there was built an MCP server for Blender where one of my colleagues actually gave it an instruction like, hey, I want to see a fireplace with sun coming from this direction. And because of the functionalities of Blender were exposed through whatever API it is. I have no idea what API it was, but they were exposed to that API through the MCP server to the AI agent. The AI agent is then able to use these tools to then set up something in Blender. It wasn't perfect. It was not done by a professional in any way, but it's something that would normally not be possible for an average Joe like myself to want to do on a regular day. So you can build your own MCP server for your custom applications, for your own startup, whatever the case is. And this is an example of an MCP server. You have the metadata, the details about the MCP server. You have a list of tools that the MCP server can call or that can provide to the AI agent that the AI agent can then call. And then you have additional, what's it called, the transport type. Most of the transport type is the STDIO, which is standard input or output. There could be remote servers as well, where services like Stripe or very secure services will not necessarily have you download the MCP server to your PC. They probably have a remote server where you connect to and then they do the OAuth and all of those things in the background. So there are different kind of transport systems that you get to find out more the more you explore MCPs in general. So, but the thing I want you to walk away with is if you have a customer application, a startup, you can absolutely build your own MCP server. So, if you're not doing that, how do you find your own MCP server? How do you find MCP servers that you can start to use today for whatever use case that you need? There are a couple of platforms that exist this way. For the more technical needs, you'll find the actual model context protocol repo. They have a bunch of default recommendations. You find Google Drive in there, you find GitLab in there. There's Google Maps, Google Drive, GitHub, file systems. The file systems allow the agents to go through your local system. And then secures the operations with access controls, just multiple, MCP servers. And the numbers have increased. I took this screenshot, so you'll probably find more interesting ones there as well. And that is just one. I'm giving us a couple of seconds to scan that. Cool. And then the next one would be Glamour. This is one of my favorites, and I tried to find like finance examples because I'm speaking at an open source in finance forum. So you can see like the Yahoo Finance MCP server and just general finance MCP that allows you to plug into any of these existing APIs out there. And if you find out any of the platforms that you were looking into does not have an MCP server, you can actually have some of these agents go into their API source and actually build an MCP server for you. Like anything is possible these days, right? And this is just an example of that. Glamour I really like because they kind of also give you like reviews of the MCP servers, because anybody can build an MCP server today. It's open source. So it gives you like grades on the security, on the quality of it, and then you know, should I install this or should I not install it? Kind of like NPM packages, but I don't think NPM packages have reviews on them per se, aside of GitHub stars. And then the next one is Post MCP. This is also really nice, kind of gives you an insight into how the project is built on GitHub, the following, how many times it has been downloaded. So you go after a popular, MCP or not, or find somewhere else, another one that is more recommended, as the case may be. So yeah, these are like three of my favorite sources to find an MCP server. And then the next one, which is coming soon, is a central registry, mostly, to be honest, for the AI agents themselves, where we can get to a point where I say, I'm at the Queen Elizabeth Center, I need to find something around me to do. And even if you don't have any MCP server that can do that for you, within your agent. The agent is able to plug into this registry automatically and find MCP servers that can do it for you. So the team at Pulse MCP, at GitHub as well, and also at Block, are actually working together to build a central registry for the agent so that they can automatically figure out what tools are needed to just get in and get it done. So you can check that out as well on the QR code. So how do you make the most of MCPs? Because it sounds like very powerful technology, especially when you start to plug it into stuff. I can assure you that as scary as it may sound, or as unsecure sometimes as it may sound, we do use MCPs a ton at Block. Some of the screenshots I shared you were from us using our Block. And the fact is that you can build your own custom MCPs internally and make it as secure as possible. We have OAuth built around all of the MCP servers, and we also have an allow list, right? So you cannot install any MCP server from anywhere without going through the actual security processes, right? So there's things that you need to be aware of. The same way you will not install any malicious NPM package, you also have to be on the lookout to review some of the MCP servers that you do come across. Because as I mentioned, they are open source. Anyone can build them, and anyone can technically insert any malicious code in there. So be security conscious and combine tools together. You can have Goose and AI agents go right in there to your Google Drive, pick up files, review every item there, search the internet for any recent news on the content of that document, come back and build you a web page or a dashboard based on data that it comes in. Be creative. You can combine many tools. It doesn't have to be, I have to use this tool at one time and I start a new session. You can do anything, basically. And like I said, AI is still a tool. What you instruct it to do is what it's eventually going to do. Sometimes it's going to fail majestically at that. Try again. Stay open-minded. Reiterate where possible. Fix it where possible. Ask it to start over if you have to sometimes. But everything is, to be honest, very possible, even though everything is not going to be perfect all the time. So I just like to recommend people should be open-minded and just try out some of these tools and see how best it fits into their workflow. So thank you so much for listening. I would like to leave you with a quote from Blade from many, many, many years ago. When you understand the nature of a thing, then you know what it's capable of. And that's the essence of my talk today, to make sure that you know what is possible or what the nature of MCPs and these AI agents are today, so that you can then take it back into your life, back into your workflow, back into your workplace, and find out how best you can integrate it in your own way. So yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for listening. If you have any questions, please. Thank you. Any questions? Awesome.
Very interesting.
Thank you.
Is this going to come mobile?
Yes, possibly. I do have a prototype on my phone, but I'm not allowed to show you. But Goose is entirely open source right now. So we have people working. It actually just came to Linux and Windows. Windows 2 weeks ago, Linux last week. It was always on Windows, but it was available, what's it called, through WSL. Which was a bit annoying for non-technical people because the default thingy was on Mac, the desktop app. So Goose is in desktop and CLI. But right now there's desktop on both the Mac, Windows, and Linux. But I think it should come into mobile very soon. But you should definitely check it out. I use it every day. I'm not trying to sell anybody right now. But I actually use it every day. Sometimes I stream on my own pastime, and I go in there and I'm like, hey, I want to create a new live score kind of template on my stream screen. And it just goes to work, and then I have something new. And I think that makes me feel good that I can still focus on what's important without wasting time on some of the everyday things. Awesome.
You mentioned personal workflows in your first slide.
Yeah.
How do you use that in your life, or do you have any ideas of things you want to do for that using Goose?
Yeah, I just give you an example with my streaming, for example. Also, the example I gave with the onboarding document was actually a real-life thing. There was also another example where, what I like to describe is thinking about this in different ways. For example, working with documents. And that's one thing. So that could be any process. Working with databases could be any process. And then working with code could be any process. So with documents, it could be creating a new document. It could be combining multiple documents together and generating a new document off of it, or just summarizing or getting insights from it. With data sources could be, for example, at Square, we have people where they're able to fetch, what are the top 20 sellers from this place, and then what are the insights that is possible. And just reviewing things where, as an expert, you will still make the final decision, but it just presents this data for you in a refined way than you would normally have to go spend time kind of like cleaning up, if that makes sense. So these are like some of the use cases that I've actually come across people using. I've spoken with people across content design, product management, account management, which other one? With content design, they're able to upload their entire style guide to memory. So every time they create a new content, they ask Goose does this match our guideline? Is there anything I need to change? Like, it's not just about blank LLM reviewing your stuff, but it's actually comparing it to criteria or documents that you provided to it in the past. So all of these are like just use cases that just plug in together to make the most of it. Any more questions? I have 17 seconds. Going once, going twice. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.